And then I open my door and it's Eric Sims and Chris Parnell. And Eric's like, smells like you just took a shit in there. I was like, yes, I did. Can you guys give me some fucking privacy?
Jeez.
And of course, Chris is just like so polite. He would never.
We should probably
So
cut
funny.
those stories out.
Oh boy. Okay. Should we get started?
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you get your job on Archer?
Oh, good question. Whenever people ask me this question, like in interviews or whatever, I start by talking about Dad's Garage, which is the improv theater that Christian and I work at. So did Lucky. And this is how I remember it. And Christian, please correct me if you remember it any differently.
It
was back at 280 Elizabeth Street when we were, a small comedy theater. The ensemble was probably only like 10, 12 people at that time. I don't even know if I was in the ensemble yet. So we were doing comedy. We were this little tiny comedy theater doing comedy. And then Matt and Adam and all the 70-30 guys were just, a bunch of all white, all guys making comedy cartoons. And because you worked with them and you worked at Dad's, I feel like they would come to the theater and see shows. So they were like aware of us. Is that correct?
Yeah, sometimes they would come see shows. Yeah, they rarely, but they would, every once in a while, Matt and Adam would come and see a show at Dad's. I think Adam saw exactly one show at Dad's.
Okay.
Right? But Matt would come from time to time.
Yeah, and so they were aware of us. And I remember this was before Frisky Dingo, I think, had been greenlit. So I think maybe they were just like in the pilot process or in the pitching process. And the show was going to be something different. And they had me audition for like a teenage girl.
Okay.
And I went in and I was like, at this point I was smoking a pack of Newports a day. And so I'm sure I had a pretty deep voice. And so I went in to audition and I remember being like, and I had like maybe never auditioned before. Maybe I'd auditioned for like a theater show in high school or something. And so I remember it not going well. And then they had Linnea come in and audition. And I don't know if Linnea got the role.
I think she did. This was for Xander Cruz's daughter on
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, okay, cool, whatever. I didn't get that job. And then the show changed, right? Like, did Xander Cruz's daughter even exist in the show?
I think she came in for like one or two episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they had me come in and read for a character that had Mary Craft had played. Is that right?
Mary Craft voiced Val in the pilot episode. But she was working. She had a lot of work.
Unlike this guy. And they could call me. So I got the role of Val, and then they were like, can you do anything else? And I was like, I don't know, probably not. But I could do like a New York accent. So I did like the character's name I think was just Hooker. And then I did was it Trinell?
Oh yeah.
Trinette.
Trinette.
No, wait, is it Trinette? No, Trinette is an Archer.
It was the Kick Pants character.
Yeah, she was like the matriarch of the homeless population.
Yeah. And so I ended up playing like, a handful of characters on that show, but they could call me and be like, hey, can you be here in 10 minutes? And I'd be like, yeah. And I'd get into my pickup truck that had a camper shell on it and drive to East Atlanta. And I would record whatever they asked me to record. They would either give me cash or write me a check, and I would literally take it straight to the check cashing place and then be able to buy dinner. So I was like, yeah, I can be there. Whenever you need me to be there, I'll be there. So that's how I started working with those guys.
Simone.
Right. I wonder why I thought it was Trinette. So Trinette is on Archer.
Yes, yeah.
Wait, was that the secretary?
No, prostitute.
Oh, okay.
So that's why you made those.
Yeah. Oh, but then
Simone.
after how I actually got on Archer was then after Frisky Dingo was done. It lasted for 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there was I was really excited because it was like around, I think it was this for the second season of Frisky Dingo. there was a giant kill face billboard on Ponce. And I was like, holy shit, I'm on that TV show and there's a billboard on Ponce. And it was like the coolest thing. And then it got canceled after 2 seasons. And you guys made the Xtacle, or there was the pilot of the Xtacles that was made?
We made 2 episodes of the Xtacles.
Okay, and they never aired?
They aired no, they did air. And they aired.
It was on the air.
So one of the hallmarks of Adult Swim were their bumpers. Remember those? The black screen with white text over it.
Oh, yeah,
that would say stuff.
I mean, that was like groundbreaking for the time. Like, they could talk directly to their audience. That was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And they show the first episode of the Xtacles, and then the bumper comes on. It goes, "So what do you guys think? Would you like some more of that, or do you want more Frisky Dingo? Let us know at the Adult Swim forums." It basically just ruined the show.
Right. Like when SNL was going to vote whether Andy Kaufman could be on the show anymore.
Wow. And so when that show ended, we were making DVD extras, I think, for the season 2 DVD of Frisky Dingo back then when there was DVDs. And I came in to record some extras for the DVD, and they were like, "Hey, come here." And it was a monitor with Pam's head on it with, one of Val's lines coming out of her head. And they're like, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do anything you guys want me to. I don't have any money, anything." And then I remember, I had a recollection of Pam being older in my mind, but then I was like, oh, it's probably just because she had an older style hairdo. Right. And then the show, and then I didn't think about it for, I don't know, maybe a couple of months or something. And then I think we made the pilot, and still then, and I need to ask, and you guys might know the answer to this because I've never asked Thompson or Adam, but everybody on the show was a famous actor. And then there was me, and I was like, they must have tried to get somebody else, but it didn't work out. And then I did the pilot, and I had to get approved by by FX, and that went okay.
What's this name that I've never heard of?
Exactly. Who is this person? And then I was on the show. Do you guys remember were you around at that time of Archer, at the beginning of Archer?
I don't think I was at the very beginning, but
okay.
I think, and we've talked about this before, how you say that in that first pilot script, Pam is called the mousy HR director, and I don't think she was supposed to have that big of a role. So it was probably they liked working with you. Let's give it to a local person, because it's just going to be a line or two every once in a while.
Right.
And then, I think Adam just kind of fell in love with the character and just started writing more and more for you. So
yeah, I got so lucky. It was such a great character. I feel like I always got to say the best, worst lines. I always had the dirtiest lines in the episode, and I was so happy to do it.
It's not even that dirty, but Lickbag is so good.
Which happens so much in this episode. Lickbag.
Often said too that Pam is kind of the only good person on the show. Mm-hmm. She's the heart of the show. She actually cares about people, which is just a pretty funny thing to think about. That this foul-mouthed, hedonist is also the most gentle and kind person on the show.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then throughout the seasons and the series, you get to see her doing these little things, when Aisha brought up her grabbing Abigine and hopping through the offices.
You have to imagine that Pam's put a hydraulic bolt into the head of a couple of cows at least.
Oh yeah, got to. That's farm living, man.
Yeah. I also love that in the Dreamland season, Pam is basically living as a man.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was kind of, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but it wasn't a plot line or a storyline that was on a lot of TV shows at the time.
Totally. And we never made a deal about it. It just was. No. And it just was the way that it was. And it was kind of great.
In fact, that was directive from Adam. He's like, we're never going to mention it. Yeah. We're not going to talk about it.
I think I've talked to you about it before, Casey, but there have been so many shows like the remake of Perry Mason that were set in the same Hollywood, high Hollywood era, that Archer did a bunch of that stuff in a cartoon, like well before it came back around for popular Hollywood.
I remember there was a conversation, speaking of Poovey, a conversation of how Poovey was going to look in that season, and that it just never was right, and you guys kept going around and around, and you couldn't figure it out, and then you just put lipstick on the character, and they're like, okay, it's good. That was the only thing that was missing. It's like eyebrows on chimpanzees in what's that movie with the Planet of the Apes? Oh, Planet of the Apes. They're like, there's something wrong with these female chimpanzees, and then they pput eyebrows on them, and then they looked the way they wanted them to.
Now.
Yeah.
They look snatched.
Yeah.
That's the kids say. I could see an executive being like, now that's a chimpanzee I want to have sex with.
That is one sexy chimp. I'm Amber Nash, the voice of your favorite HR nightmare, Pam Poovey. We're doing an Archer Rewatch podcast because I don't have a job anymore. This season, each episode is hosted by me and a guest co-host from the main cast. We will be breaking down fan and cast favorite episodes out of order, so get used to it. Welcome to RePhrasing. Okay, the episode we're covering today is Archer Vice, Southbound and Down. It is the 5th episode of Season 5 and the 54th episode overall. It first aired on February 24th, 2014. Archer pays for an extravagant tour bus to get the gang to Texas for Shirlene's debut performance. Nice. Such a great episode. That whole season. So this was the first season that was a departure, correct?
Yes.
And so was it also the first season that the opening credits were different because of that? Other than being name changes or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. So when this departure happened, because, it happens in 8, 9, and 10, which were the coma seasons. Mm-hmm. But what was going on internally that made this happen where Adam was like, we need to do a departure season?
I just think he got really excited about... and we've talked about this before. Adam Reed basically wrote every single episode of Archer up until season 10, where he only wrote half of them. And then, but, after writing the first 4 seasons, which you just say that this is the 55th episode, so he's already written 50 episodes of Archer. Yeah. So I think he was looking for ways to get jazzed about this, and then he had this idea because in the first episode of this season, Mallory reveals that she has like a ton of cocaine. And so it was just like, and they're just going to become cocaine dealers for the whole season.
Yeah
So a neat departure.
Yeah, it really was. And then like the whole Shirlene storyline, did that happen at the very beginning of the season, like episode 1 of season 5? Okay, so Cheryl becomes a country music singer, and the great thing that was happening for us was that there was an Archer album being made to lead up to this season. And so I remember, I grew up in Georgia, so I for sure knew who Kevin Kenny was. And I was like, I got a call. Lucky and I either had a recording or we just got a call to show up at this place that was a house that had a studio in it. And so we were driving to like some neighborhood in Atlanta, and it must have been in between seasons because they had to have made the album before the season came out, obviously.
Nope.
No? Is that true?
No, you're right. That must have been between seasons because we use music from the album in the episodes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So we go to this house, and there's a studio in the basement, and we don't walk in the front door. We like walk around like through this carport into the basement door, and Kevin Kenny of Driving and Crying is there. And I remember like literally going to Six Flags Georgia to see Driving and Crying like play underneath the Scream machine.
Wow.
So fucking cool. I was so stoked. And I'd never met him before. And he's such a nice man and just so disarming and lovely. And I was sick. Like, I think it was wintertime. And I had like a terrible cough and cold. And I also don't sing. And so I was like, I really don't know what I'm doing here. And he's like, it's going to be fine. And he put me and Lucky in the booth and had us sing like backup vocals. I don't know if it made it into the album or not. Maybe Lucky's did, because Lucky's got a pretty great voice. And that was when I met Kevin Kinney, and we're still friends with Kevin Kinney. Him and his partner awesome. Anna, yeah, they're great because his partner is a really great painter and artist, and so she's always doing cool shit around town. And Kevin Kinney is like, I mean, he's playing shows every weekend, either in town or out of town, and they're just so fucking fun. So that was really a really fun thing to get to do.
It's interesting that you mentioned Six Flags and I wish like I knew then what I know now, because it's like almost every weekend it was like Driving and Crying or the B-52s or some band was playing at Six Flags, and I think you just got to go to the show with your park admission.
Yeah.
I could have saw the B-52s like 100 times if I...
Totally. And so I guess, I don't know how Adam met Kevin Kinney, or if he just like reached out to him for this because it was set in the 80s. Is that why that happened?
I feel like he knew Kevin before that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because he knew a couple bands. Like, we've also used some other music in other seasons of Archer from bands he knew when he was, like, going to UNC.
Right, when we were doing C-Lab, he had, like, Widespread Panic posters that he was, like, friends with Widespread Panic. Yeah.
That's so funny.
And the people who did the C-Lab theme, that was a New York band he was friends with?
Yeah, a little New York band that they were just friends with. That they had.
Wow.
Man, the C-Lab theme song is so great.
It's pretty great.
So I have a thing that I thought I would talk to you guys about that is, so everybody in the very beginning of Archer was always like, what time period is this set in? Like, everybody just really wanted an answer, and there wasn't an answer. And right. the answer was, I believe, it's the time in which all the coolest things exist. So, like, the coolest cars, the coolest guns, the coolest suits, like, whenever that time period is, it's just a mashup of all these different things. Was that, like, what you guys would say? Is that kind of how you operated?
Yeah, I remember, like, Adam really liking that 60s era, the kind of Mad Men looking feel as well. Mm-hmm. But also was like, I just want them to have cell phones because it's going to be easier for characters to talk to one another rather than somebody having to pull over, get to a payphone.
Right.
So that was the thing that he always wanted as well.
And the computers, like the desktop computers, were so funny looking.
Yep.
So cool. I remember Adam always would complain about the joke he wrote in the pilot about Dane Cook, and he's like, that he always felt like that tilted it like made it too obvious that it was also present day, but it shouldn't be. It's like exists outside of time almost.
Right. Because like there weren't cell phones. I feel like cell phones didn't really start to happen until like later seasons. Is that true, or were there cell phones in the first season?
They had cell phones. They didn't have like a smartphone, but they had cell phones.
Okay, because we didn't have smartphones yet, did we? When it started. Maybe they'd been out for a couple years. We couldn't afford them. Okay, but then when we get to Archer Vice, it's like very much like, well, even then, everything was still like, was it set in the 80s? Or was it just kind of like the same time period?
It just happened to be some 80s stuff, but it wasn't dedicated to the 80s.
Okay.
Well, it had to be after Smokey and the Bandit because he knows about that. So
right. Yeah.
It's just a very amorphous time period and what we're going to reference. Like the Dane Cook thing might have been something that also just happened in a booth too, and then we put it in, and then it was just like, I really wish we wouldn't have done that. And it's also like, now that you look back, like what a dumb punching down joke. You know, like that guy didn't deserve that. Like just because he was successful and popular.
You're getting soft, Casey. You're getting.
I guess it wasn't punching down. I guess it was punching up. He was at the top of his game, selling out stadiums.
Come on.
It's the Guy Fieri syndrome. It was okay to make fun of Guy Fieri, and now everybody's like, "Why are we making fun of Guy Fieri?"
Yeah, because apparently he's a very nice man.
And he just wants to go to drive-ins, diners, and dives.
And dives. And he donates a lot of his money. Apparently, he donates a lot of his money to charity. So in this episode, we find out that they are going to the Travis County limits. And Mallory has to keep yelling, "It's comparable." And they only have 24 hours to drive to Texas. And then we have the whole Smokey and the Bandit theme that happens. And does the car from Smokey and the Bandit have a name? Like the general does?
No, I don't think so. I think they just call it the blocker car, but I don't think it has. I mean, it's a Firebird, right?
Right.
But I don't think it has a name.
Man, it's so great. T-tops.
So, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So we're smack dab in the middle of this Archer Vice season.
Okay.
And Pam has already had a cocaine habit for several episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of snorting the cocaine, she's eating it.
Yeah.
What did you think when they were like, "Hey, you're gonna have a cocaine habit, but you're gonna be eating it"?
I thought it was great. Like, I was always excited when there was something that was Pam specific that got to happen. But the eating it was fine, but it meant that I was literally eating in the booth every time I did a record for that season. And I remember being like, there was times where I was like, what if I just had like a pencil in my mouth? And Thompson's like, no. We can hear it. We can tell. We can tell. And so I would always try to not eat something and then end up having to eat something.
I think by that time, because this was already after Bear Claw Gate and all the cheese balls and stuff. So I think we tried to have Nutri-Grain bars and some other stuff that was like not just terrible.
Yeah.
Junk
And there was
food.
the poor guy this was when we were at the same studio we ended up ending the show recording at, and we always had the same engineer, and there was many times that he would be like, I have some stuff in my lunch, and I would end up eating half of his lunch. Poor guy.
This was the one off Cheshire Bridge, right? That area?
Yeah. The JC worked out.
My wife made me this sandwich.
You can have it, I guess.
You just like, and you're vegetarian, so you're just throwing the ham out onto the floor.
Onto the window in the booth. So I had to eat a lot of stuff.
I remember Thompson being so specific about wanting authentic mouth sounds that we had just moved into this studio in Atlantic Station, and in my editing room I had a little sound booth we had just built, like we had just had it built, and we were recording something where Thompson's character had to have a mouthful of water, and he had just glasses of water that he was spewing all over that little booth, and I was like, man, Matt, we just built this thing, like it's gonna smell like mildew, and it'll be worth it.
It's so funny because those are things that, like, before I started doing voice work, I would have never known happened in booths. I would have never known that people were eating food in there. It was really fun, but I did eat a lot of random shit during that time.
I can say from a production standpoint, this was one of the most difficult episodes of Archer that was made up to that date.
Why?
There were several reasons. One is it's just loaded with composited 3D elements.
Okay.
There's so many chase scenes.
Yeah.
Like every third scene is a chase scene.
Yeah.
The motorhome for Shirlene, the Firebird, but then also the bikers. And that was a huge problem that the animation department, the illustration department, and the 3D department all had to work in conjunction together to figure this solution out for. We want the bikes to be 3D, but then you've got an animated guy on top of it, which usually in the car, they're cut off and they're just put in the car. So you could see everything. That's the problem. You couldn't hide anything.
Yeah.
Wow. So did it take longer?
It did take a long time, and smack dab in the middle of this episode is when we changed studios from Zonalite to Atlantic Station.
Okay.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was a long one, and just animating or editing a song into something and trying to sync all that stuff up, it's so difficult.
Yeah, and this was the only time that I remember, and I think it might be the only time is during this season, that actual songs are being used. So that meant that there was licensing money from FX, right. Which usually, it's so expensive to license music, even if you're doing a cover version of it, that I guess FX was just like, yeah, we'll give you a bunch of extra money to license all these songs. No.
We had to figure out ways to figure out how to get it in the budget. So yeah, it's tough. It was a tough one,
but it was important. And then that album got made, and
it's really a great album too.
Were there physical albums?
I had one, but I don't know if they actually made one. It was just like a CD. And also, for anybody who worked at the studio at the time, there was a little radio in the bathroom with an iPod on it, and forever it was just the Shirley album playing on repeat in that bathroom.
But there was even a concert, right? There was a
yes.
Because I edited. That was my first editing of a live show. It was a 4-camera recording of this concert of the woman who voiced the music portion of it.
It was either the rap party or the Christmas party.
Okay.
Because I think it was the
rap party.
Was it rap party? Was it at Park Tavern or was it somewhere else?
I can't remember.
It was cool, though.
Yeah. It was, because they played live, and I think I got up and played a harmonica, which I can't do. And Kevin Kenny's like, just breathe in and out of it. You'll be fine. Okay. Okay. So we get to see Shirlene's tour bus, which is amazing looking. That we never see a jacuzzi, but it does have a jacuzzi inside of it. And Archer's look is incredible as well, because he's looking very Burt Reynolds in this episode. Yeah.
There was a couple things that, Mallory always has some rants sometimes, and she rants about PBS, basically.
Yes! It's so funny. I was like, oh, Mallory's a real conservative.
But also, it was funny, but then when I was watching, I was like, this is actually very tame compared to what people do nowadays.
Well, and because of the times that we're living in, I don't want to get political, but I was like, shit, this is very timely listening to this episode right now. And her rant about public television.
She does a little rant about flying and the tuberculars in Coach. That made me laugh out loud.
Tuberculars.
The other thing that's timely, because we're recording this April 25th, 2025, the Pope just died, and there's a line about the Pope's ring. In this.
Wow, yes! I was just on Reddit, because I wanted to let the people on Reddit know that we're doing an Archer Rewatch podcast, and on the day that the Pope died, somebody posted a picture of the Pope's casket, and Archer standing next to it saying, "Way to go, Pam." It was very well done. Thankfully, I'm not Catholic, so I'm going to go to hell anyway. Very funny. Oh, boy. I also love, we see Pam's look in this episode, and it becomes so iconic because this got cosplayed by everybody, because it was such a doable outfit. You could go to the thrift store today and get all those things that Pam wears in this episode and then cosplay as Pam. You can't buy those titties at a thrift store, though. Let me tell you that. So I really loved that.
You have to fart in a hat for it to be 100% authentic.
And I also, actually, the last con that I was at, I don't remember. Oh, I was in Iowa or something. This lovely woman that is a Pam cosplayer that also does porn in Pam cosplay. She gave me a copy of her sexy calendar, which is all Pam in various states of undress.
Amazing.
And she gave me a Poovey Farms trucker hat, just like the one from this episode. But I don't think she farted in it before she gave it to me.
Good. That costs extra.
Yeah, it does.
On PooveyFans.com.
I bet she is on OnlyFans doing Poovey porn. Good for her.
Yes.
Good for her.
One thing that happens a couple times in this episode, and I'd like to talk about it and get your opinion on it, is a Pam burp. And many times you were asked to burp.
Yeah.
And many times we did not grab a sound effect to replace your burp. We used your actual in-session burp. Because really they were always really good.
I think I can do one for you guys right now.
Yeah, go for it. It's so good.
I was like one of the things that like some shitty kid in my neighborhood taught me how to do when I was a kid, and I was like, this is going to come in handy.
But you had to do it a lot during the run of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was never able to get a real big one out because you just, you can't, but
burp shy.
Yeah, you get a little burp shy. I burped so many times. That's really nice to know that they always made it in.
Yeah. I mean, rarely that we could. They were just perfect as you would deliver it. Right on time.
Oh, boy. Let's see. What else is on my list? I love when Archer thinks that he's going to drive there with Lana. And then she's like, no, there's no way I'm getting in that car with you. And then Archer says, well, who's going to do snappy dialogue with me underscored by sexual attraction? And then it goes straight to the fart in the hat. So good. So good. And one of the reasons why this is my favorite episode is that it was one of the first times that we got to see Archer and Pam together, which I always thought was so fun. And, as an actor, I was like, well, I get to be in a bunch of scenes with the lead of this show, so that's fucking awesome. And I always thought that Pam and Archer had really great chemistry together, so it was just so exciting to get to see them together the whole episode.
Yeah, and, he's also attracted to you.
Yeah, whether he likes it or not.
One of his lines, he goes, I mean, look at those big bastards.
And then she's bent over in those red jeans for so long. Oh my God, so funny. I remember when they told me that Pam was going to be, doing a bunch of cocaine, and I was like, well, she's probably going to lose weight because she's not eating. And then while Pam's body got smaller, her boobs stayed the same size, and so that's why they're such big bastards.
Yes. How about when we come back from a commercial break and Pam just has substance of unknown origin across her lips.
And then her fucking it's not her nickname, but her handle is fucking
Snowball. And one of my favorite jokes that's not really highlighted, but it's there, is when we're flashing back that Pam might have told truckers that they have a bunch of cocaine. The first guy is brushing his teeth.
That's so funny. I didn't even clock that. I didn't clock that at all. And you know what's funny is that I, Amber Nash, genuinely love truck stops. I think they're fucking fascinating. The bigger, the better. And ones where there's showers, ones where there's TV rooms. I think they're just fascinating. There's one called On the Border. Do you guys know this one?
Yeah, and it's South Carolina.
It's on the border of South and North Carolina,
yes.
Which is exactly what you think of when you think on the border. And it's got a convention center. It's got a hotel, but it's all it's not been in its prime for at least 2-3 decades. So it is pretty nuts.
I think I just recently looked this up because I was telling somebody about it. I believe it was first established in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the not so subtly racist things were
super racist.
Yeah, but they have not changed it. So the sign is like a guy in a sombrero and a
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually doing some research for a show because I was writing a show about lot lizards.
Okay.
And I went there to do some research, and I went by myself, and Kevin was like, should you have some protection with you? Because I do remember getting there, because it's far to drive from Atlanta, getting there like after dusk and going into the gift shop, but there's not a lot of people around, and I was like, I think I'm being followed. It got pretty sketchy pretty quick.
Well, have you ever been to, and it does not exist anymore, I don't believe, Southern Comfort?
Yeah.
So for our listeners, south of Atlanta, there was a famous trucker bar with a giant dance floor.
Why is there a bar for truckers that drive for a living to just stop at and get hammered and then keep going?
Yeah. And it definitely was an event to go there for sure.
Yeah. I think it might be open still. Unless I don't know if it made it after the pandemic, but I would like to find out because I went there many times.
Yeah.
Because they used to do karaoke nights.
And also I had another question real quick.
Yeah.
Now, how do you feel about a Buc-ee's? Because they're not really truck stops. They don't allow trucks.
Yeah.
But they are huge.
They are huge, and you can do Christmas shopping there. I mean, they have like all the fudge you could ever want, barbecue. I have mixed feelings about it because I think that Kevin said it best, and he said, I've looked into the mouth of hell and it had buck teeth. And it was like, that is what the experience, like, especially on a weekend at a Buc-ee's, it's fucking nuts. So I prefer like a Flying J, to be honest, than a Buc-ee's.
The only thing is that those Buc-ee's bathrooms are pristine.
Oh yeah, and you get you get like an apartment basically that you can close and lock. It's great. They are really nice. I love that also, and I don't know if this happens throughout the whole season, that Mallory is basically like Shirlene's agent. Did she establish that early?
Yeah.
And we hear the line from Aisha, or from Lana, which is so great. Who are you? Colonel Mom Parker, which had to look up, and was a reference to Tom Parker, who was best known for being Elvis's agent. Yeah. And I guess he was a bad dude?
Yeah.
Might have taken advantage a little bit.
Oh.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Pam does one of the variations of her catchphrase, "Holy shit snacks," in here. It's "Holy Coke snacks."
Yeah.
Do you remember how "Holy shit snacks" started?
I don't, but I think I asked Adam, or Adam just said that he's like, you improvised that line. And I was like, no way did I improvise that line. And he's like, yeah, you did. And so I'm like, I don't know, maybe I did. So I guess that it came up and I don't think that when it happened the first time, it was like, that's your catchphrase. I think that over time, we just kept putting it back in.
That's how Adam does it,
yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Like, if he heard something he liked, he would try to bring it back in. And if it hit a second time, then good.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy shit snacks, suppressing fire.
Yeah.
One of the things, the yup, yup, yup we talked about, one of the things from Judy is she would say geez ow a lot when she'd get hit.
Funny.
Yeah. Which is something like that she said when she was a kid, apparently.
Right. That's great. Yeah, so I don't remember how it started, but I, got to say it a ton. And I think we like, once we realized it was a catchphrase, we used it like a lot for like 3 seasons, and then we're like, we got to stop using this. And then we kind of started to trickle back in later. I love that Pam says "holy dick burns" at one point too. That's a really fun one that I'd forgotten about. Because people always ask me like, what are your favorite Pam lines? And I'm like, I don't remember any of them. Like sploosh and holy shit snacks are like the most often quoted. But I got to get "holy dick burns" back in the rotation.
And then about 3 or 4 times in this episode, Lickbag came in. But, I wonder if that was an improv too.
I don't know. Lickbag. That is a really good one. And we hear "breaker, breaker." You got your ears on, Snowball. Come back. Is that Thompson?
Probably. Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
There was Thompson. There was a Pat Piper in this episode. As I think his name was Tony Phony.
It's so funny. I liked might want to check your 6, Snowball. And then Archer goes, ooh, is that about the shart? It's so good. Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's any other.
One thing about this episode is at the beginning of the season, Adam tasked me with having a spreadsheet with so I started with like 1 ton of cocaine, and I had to like keep track of how much cocaine we used throughout the season.
Yeah, because it dwindles, that big pile that
Yes.
you see.
That would be such a fun, like, if we were ever going to give any swag to an Applebee's.
To be on the wall.
Yeah. That'd be such a great thing to have. One of the sweet things that happens when we were talking about how Pam is attractive to Archer, and what he says is, for what it's worth, we all kind of liked you the way you were, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, it's really touching.
And then, of course, just back to shenanigans. I also loved Outlaw Country, because that was the name of the album, right? That she was recording? Or that was just her thing?
I think it was just called Charlene, and then she would just say Outlaw Country all the time.
And the episode ends with, looks like old Snowball done it again.
I love in the closed captioning, that character is labeled as the balladeer.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's what he was in the script as well.
And so, was that like a famous person's voice?
I can't recall, but I think it was supposed to be an homage to Dukes of Hazzard, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's so wonderful. It reminded me of when we meet Pam for the first time in the space season, and there's just an applause break when the character shows up, and I was like, that's so great.
And there's stuff like that I feel like only Adam could get away with. And I even think this freeze frame, like when it was in the script and we submitted that script to FX, they're like, what? What are you?
Yeah,
You're gonna
it's so great.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a fun episode.
Yeah.
Casey, do you have trivia for me?
I have some trivia for you.
Nice.
Okay, let me just say that going into this trivia,
So wait,
I've
you're
got
keeping your own score?
Yeah, I've got 17 points. What was that?
I think you were lowballing yourself.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I tallied. 17 points.
Speaking of lowball,
Okay.
the Hostess Snowball is a treat. First, can you tell me what the Hostess Snowball is composed of?
Oh boy. Okay. To my knowledge,
Yes.
it's got a layer of marshmallow on it.
It does have a layer of marshmallow, yes.
Something that is pink, and
Yes.
and coconut,
Yes.
like on the outside.
Yes.
And I don't know what the center is though. Is it chocolate cake?
It is. It's basically a chocolate cupcake filled with cream in the middle.
Oh man,
So
I've never
cream
eaten
filled
one.
but then also they have special snowballs for the times of year. So at Christmas time they're white. Around St. Patrick's Day and Easter they're green. Yeah.
So is there marshmallow on it? Is that true?
It is marshmallow, which I don't know if
Wow.
that is vegan or not. There might
Not
be
vegan.
gelatin. Yeah.
Wow,
What
okay.
year was the Hostess Snowball introduced?
That seems like something that would have happened in the 60s. So I'm going to say 1967.
1947.
Whoa, they had marshmallows in the 40s?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Austin City Limits was kind of the reference we were making, a famous PBS show. What year was the show started?
Austin City Limits. What
Yes,
year was
on
that show
PBS.
started? Oh, boy. I'm going to say 1978.
You were so close. I believe PBS started broadcasting it in 1976, and it's having its 50th season this year.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to get 5 points for that one.
Now, finally, you say lick bag, and you also say lick nuts in this episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to have the nut fact rapid fire round.
Okay. Okay.
What's another name for a hazelnut?
Shit. Oh, God, I can't. Oh, a filbert.
Peanuts are technically,
legume.
yes. Pine nuts come from what form? How do we get a pine nut?
Pineapples.
Pine cones.
Oh, even weirder.
The pecan tree is the state tree of what state?
Georgia.
Texas.
Oh.
The majority of Brazil nuts come from where?
Kentucky.
Bolivia.
Oh.
Cashews grow on the end of what?
Oh, they grow on the end of apples.
Yeah, cashew apple. Very good. One of the hardest nut shells in the world is what?
The walnut.
The macadamia nut.
Oh.
In Roman times, what nut was considered food for the gods?
Oh, Roman. I don't know.
Walnuts.
Ooh, walnuts.
Yep.
Wow, okay. Let's see.
Not bad on the lightning round.
Thank you. I only got 1 point from that lightning round because I kept losing points.
Oh.
Okay, so for my episode, I am coming out with 40 points.
Nice. Very
Pretty
respectable.
good.
Very respectable.
Pretty good. Okay, anything else?
Amber, is there anything you want to plug?
Yes.
Oh, I actually do want to plug something. I wrote a book with a friend of mine named Greg Tavares from Charleston, South Carolina. He is part of an improv theater up there. He actually started this improv theater with some friends. And it's called Improv for Couples. It is not for performers. It is for regular people that have never done improv before to use the tenets of improv and the things that improv teaches to be have more fun and fuck around. And so it's like games for you and your partner to play at home or on road trips. And it's really fun.
Where can we find this book?
It's on Amazon.
Oh.
Yeah. Improv
Fantastic.
for Couples. Yep.
We should
And I
probably
think that's it.
end this
Oh,
episode.
and I've got this podcast going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this podcast.
We should end this episode with a freeze frame.
I'm not going to.
This has been Rephrasing, an Archer Rewatch podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at RephrasingPod. Email us questions at rephrasingpod@gmail.com. Please, no pictures of your penis. That's just inviting pictures of their penis, isn't it? Rephrasing is produced by Amber Nash, Casey Willis, and Christian Danley. Our theme song is by Matt Hobbs. I'd like to say a special thank you to Raymond Carr, Jasmine Nash, and Jonathan Strickland. And don't forget, FX's Archer is now streaming on Hulu.